Switi, добрый день. Good afternoon, everybody. Time is running out. I think it's time that we start our session. In this session, we have varied speakers. A lot of them are going to talk about the corridor through Iran, on the Caspian Sea up to India, the exciting project which has been going on for 15 to 20 years, but finally it's going to come as a reality, hopefully very time soon. And we also have people, speakers who are going to talk about IT, about solutions in problem solving in business, and various other topics. We have about 20 speakers today. So everybody, I request to keep their presentation very short so that everybody gets to speak and express their opinion. So we will start with Mr. Asim Vora. He is from the Indian Embassy. So, Mr. Asim.
Thank you. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here to represent the Indian Embassy. Frankly, we are all aware, the entire world is aware of the India's growth story, the 2.6 trillion US dollar economy that we poised to become, that we aim to become very quickly. That immense aim that our political leadership has set for ourselves speaks volumes about the confidence that India has in its economic progress, in its structural changes that it has made, and in the partnerships it wants to make with the other countries, particularly Russia. I shall restrict myself to the practical measures that the Indian Embassy is planning to do in the next few weeks, months, and years to give you a sense of where and what exactly you can look up to towards the embassy for support. We are aiming to have a series of highly powerful delegations from both sides coming and going. And this time we are planning also to keep a very close eye on the outcomes of every single company that goes in or comes to Russia. We, of course, have a very special focus in the Russian Far East, so we shall try and ensure that the 1 billion US dollar line of credit gets diversified. It will make sure that it's not restricted to a single sector, although, of course, the guidelines are being modulated, but we'll try to spread its use as thin as we can for maximum advantage across sectors. Number two, we are also trying to ensure that we set up in the embassy a special system to ensure that companies from various sectors have a dedicated officer they can approach about specific problems, specific trade and non-trade barriers, special grievances, and special B2B Connect. We have put on our website a list of 4 officers, including myself. We deal with 6 special sectors. So anyone having any problems in reaching out to prospective Indian partners or Russian partners can approach us. We are, for instance, working very closely with the Russian government and ministries, trying to sort out the non-trade barriers that we have on individual cases. They're from agricultural products and pharmaceuticals. We have set up a couple of new working groups because we realize, for instance, pharmaceuticals is a sector of huge priority for Indian companies. We had the first ever joint working group on the pharmaceutical sector. We had representatives from all ministries. I think I should not speak very long, but all I'm trying to say is in the Embassy of India and through us in the ministries of India, the Invest India, Ministry of Commerce and Niti Aayog, you have a single channel through us. You approach us with any problems, and since we are not really a stakeholders in anything, except enhanced trade and investment between India and Russia, you can rely on us for confidentiality. You can rely on us to introduce you to the right partners with no special motive except helping you. And we look forward to working very closely with the government of Moscow, government of Russia, and all the regional governments to ensure that we guide any possible investor in the right direction. We have a lot of lingering issues on investments, banking. We have tomorrow a meeting of 2 Russian banks who have set up branches in India. We'll try and sort out some of the banking issues with them. Today we are having a meeting of 15 Indian banks who are coming to the embassy. We'll kind of get their feedback. So we are doing our best to help you all, and I would look to you all to support us in ensuring that we reach our enhanced trade targets, which is about 3 times the existing target in the next 5 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Vora. I would ask you a question about financing. Right. India is also cash-starved, working capital-starved, high interest rates. And Russia, it's the same. Working capital is very difficult to get, and the interest rates are high. Is this a crucial thing that is, hindering the trade between India and Russia? What would you say?
Well, I think this is one of the critical points of discouragement from. Let's say it's a point where there is no encouragement on either side. I don't think it's a major barrier because interest rate, let's say in India, is the same for all countries. So it's not the primary reason of why investments are not flowing in, or trade is not flowing in the other direction. But this can be a very strong additional incentive for interested companies. Let's say this $1 billion line of credit. The interest rate is so slow that anyone with the slightest business interest in the Russian Far East can use this interest line to have a practically free flow of credit to set up business and set shop. And then, of course, they can get extra credits here and there. But yes, I think it's one of the important factors, but not the most important one.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Ravi Sachdeva. He is going to talk about intelligent automation. Let's hear. Thanks.
Can I have the presentation? Good afternoon, all of you. I know it's a big danger to actually keep you awake after the lunch, but I'll attempt my best to make it as good as possible. I was also debating that I should do this presentation in English or Russian, but then I decided that in Russia you must do as Russians do, so I'll keep it in Russian. Добрый день всем. У меня очень...
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a very interesting subject, but I don't know how relevant it is for this event. But in general, what I do is things related to smart houses, smartphones, smart cities. We also have the notion of smart automation. But if everything is smart, what will happen to humans? We're not going to speak about it now. But before I start my presentation, I would like to understand who of you understand what's robotics and artificial intelligence. Great. So I'm going to speak to you about that. Digital transformation, digitalization of the economy are very fashionable words and hype words, but they have also turned into reality. In large companies, there is the position of CBO, for example, and the largest companies are already dealing with that. And they want to implement those solutions as soon as possible, and I will explain why. Until 2013, there were many routine tasks in companies that were done manually by humans. And starting from 2013, we started to automate routine tasks. 6 or 7 years ago, RPA started developing. RPA is robotic process automation, and I would say that the largest technologies today are big data, IoT, virtual reality, augmented reality, RPA, and IA. So RPA is among the most prominent technologies today. I will speak in greater detail about it. It also includes machine learning, artificial intelligence, and the largest companies are now implementing those solutions on a large scale. Automation anywhere. What is it? If we speak about the big four in consulting, in RPA, there is the big three. Automation Everywhere is a leading US company that for more than 7 years has been implementing its RPA solutions in largest companies. I will later explain who we are, but first we decided to be the partner of this company in the Russian and Indian markets. So on this slide, you can see some figures regarding automation anywhere. We also have some other large stakeholders such as Forrester, Everest Group, and HFS. They are the largest RP platform developers so far. This slide is to give you some understanding of the companies who have already implemented such solutions. Out of Fortune 500 companies, more than 70% of companies already have RP automation solutions and IA solutions. This slide is to show how the top companies in various industries are implementing those solutions. Every year, we are trying to extend our footprint. This is a very important slide, especially for people who know what's RPE. RPE are digital workers, as we name them, but they're also bots. Many of you know what's a chatbot, but this is the most simple chatbot possible. But we are now speaking about process bots that are created by companies. These are the so-called digital workers. In a short time, such a bot can do the routine tasks that take 12 hours for a human to do. And a bot can do it in 30 minutes without a coffee break, without a vacation. Such bots are working 24/7. When we speak about enterprise RP platforms, we should also mention IQ bots. This is the power of our platform. It's when the bot starts to actually think, and in several weeks, it is able to perform all your tasks. This is state-of-the-art technology that is developing in the world, and the largest companies are waiting for us to further develop that and have started implementing that. I'm not going to dwell on this slide, but what's important to understand here is that before the implementation of our platform, you can see the number of hours that was spent by the employees. And here you can also see how much time the same task takes for a digital worker, and you can see the economy. There is a stereotype about us related to the fact that we are taking the work from humans, but actually we are just automating the routine tasks, and the creative, smart tasks will still be done by the humans. And soon the automation anywhere will be the largest employer in the world, because we are going to employ 3 million digital workers. ADP is my company. I've been in Russia for 16 years and I've been doing IP as well. I am working on this project here from last year. We selected this vendor because to sell something we need a product. As a product, we selected automation anywhere, and we're using our solution to implement this technology. So to the left, you can see the current situation description, and to the right, the opportunities. Now there are a lot of conferences on RPA, including in Russia, and there are many presenters there. And those presenters said that there is total chaos regarding that technology in Russia today. There are a lot of solutions, but there is a lack of understanding. In the US, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, the subject of RPA has been here for 7 years. In Russia, it is only just developing. It's the second year of its implementation. So those of you who raised your hand, understand me. If you are working with the IT, you have probably spoken already about the implementation of such solutions. Here you can see the description of our path and our attempts to be implemented, but in order to implement such a serious product, we needed to build a serious competence and skills within our company. We succeeded in that thanks to the experts that we found here, but we also have a back office in Europe and in Asia that employs 100 persons, so we can scale up. Russia is a huge territory, and there is also the CIS. So in order for us to timely implement our solution, we are developing our collaboration with the resellers. There are the largest integrators that are collaborating with us, so we are implementing our technology ourselves and also with the help of our partners. Here you can see the description of several cases. I can just give the example of a simple logistics case, because maybe many of you are working in the logistics industry. So in our case, that was the case of Danone, we had a certain task. You can read it on the slide. We provided a solution with a back office and the front office. Then you can see what were the processes that were automated and what were the advantages. The whole project took 2 or 3 weeks. We have some longer processes, of course, as well, and the largest project can be implemented within several months. Another advantage of RPA is that you can implement the solution very quickly, much quicker than the BPM, for example. We have implemented more than 10,000 processes over the last 7 years. So now, how are we entering on the market? How we receive clients? How do we provide advice? And what's the path for the implementation of our solutions? You can see it all on this slide. We are now also developing a network of Automation Anywhere University in Russia. This is a kind of a training center where people can study free of charge in order to develop the intellectual capital of the Russian Federation. We need talented people whom we can train ourselves. So if you are interested in discussing this subject or RPA, after the event I will be ready to talk about that. So here is our status on the Russian market today. We are a distributor of the Automation Anywhere and the privileged partner within Russia.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Kendrick White. He is going to talk about the evolution of protection of intellectual property rights. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. If you could put the slide presentation up for me. My name is Kendrick White, and I have unique experience in Russia, working in investing in advanced technologies, working with universities, working as a business angel investor, and running a venture capital fund. And I also have the unique experience of being one of the only foreigners appointed as a vice rector of a national research university, Lobachevsky University in Nizhny Novgorod, where I was responsible for developing an innovation ecosystem. I want to briefly just touch on a few points today. Many people understand that Russia has great technology initiatives, great technology ideas, and the science speaks for itself over hundreds of years for Russia. The problem is Russia has had a very difficult time developing a system of commercialization on those ideas, to bring the ideas out of the laboratory into the real world, into production. And the Western world, if you look at the United States, for example, started the process more than 40 years ago with a thing called the Bayh-Dole Act, which unified the understanding of IP protection and patenting across different states across the United States. They also institutionalized the idea that if money comes from Washington into a university, the university professors get to keep the technology created. Russia started its process only 10 years ago, and effectively it's been a difficult process, but Russia has established an entirely new set of laws to protect IP. One of the laws was Federal Law 217, which did the same thing as the Bayh-Dole Act. And what I want to mention is that Russia has initiated a number of reforms during the last 10 years to encourage the creation of regional innovation ecosystems, reforms developing technoparks, reforms developing seed funds, reforms developing the promotion of angel investment systems and angel investment clubs, reforms working with universities, of which one of the reforms was a program, the VI 100 program, which was designed to really raise up the modernization of Russian universities to be able to deal with corporations, to be able to deal with business, to be able to deal with students who want to eventually go into business and to work with scientists that want to commercialize their ideas. And I've been very much a part of that. I helped to write the roadmap for Lobachevsky in creating its innovation ecosystem. The model for the Lobachevsky system was the Deshpande Center from MIT. So I studied that system, and I brought that system of translational research into Russian universities. And I think what we tried to do at Lobachevsky and what is now being replicated across 23 other Russian regions and Russian national research universities is to take that international knowledge on best practices and begin to use that to open up the university system and to form a transparent way to work with professors, students, laboratories, and so on. Because up until not long ago, the way Western companies or Eastern companies worked with Russia was directly with a professor, handing out envelopes of cash and getting technology ideas on a flashka. But that didn't do anyone in Russia any good, and that wasn't a sustainable model. What we've tried to do is create a sustainable model which can be replicated across all the universities in the country. And right now, I'm the head of the International Relations Department of the National Association of Technology Transfer, which is supported by Innopractica and MGU. And we already have maybe 9 universities which are members of this. So my message to the audience, and I believe that really one of the purposes here is to help encourage engagement between businesses and professionals in India and around the world and in Russia. And what I want to say is that today Russian universities are open for business. They're looking for partners. They're looking for collaborators. We created 25 spin-outs in the biomedical devices sphere in 4 years at Lobachevsky, 2 of which had valuations in excess of 100 million rubles. They weren't just images, they were real startup companies. We formed a thing called the Industry Advisory Board, where we invited industry to come into the university, work with us, and develop foresighting plans on where energy trends are going to go, electric automobiles, alternative energy, recyclables, new polymers, things like this. And I think that it's very important for you in the audience to understand that Russia is really trying to be engaging. And if there's anything that we can do to kind of encourage that collaboration between, within the BRICS countries, between Russia and India and the Eurasia Economic Council, I think this is a perfect opportunity. And I think it really represents something new for companies to be able to come in and collaborate in Russia. I want to end by just saying that as an investor in Russia, I see huge potential in a number of different technology areas, specifically in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, advanced mathematics, advanced chemistry, new materials. Some of the projects my company's working on with international partners are really cutting edge. And I've had some Americans come here and say that Russia is one of the most advanced technology countries in the world. And so I would encourage this audience and the participants here to really think about that and understand that and think, how can you take advantage of that? So I'm happy to have a chance to present that idea, and I'm happy to speak with anyone that wants to talk about it in more detail after the forum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing your experience. And then now we move on to INSTC, that is the International North-South Corridor, which is a very promising shipping route from Russia to India. So I would request Mr. Sharov Alexander Mikhailovich for his presentation. Thank you. Просьба. 3-4 минуты. Спасибо.
Just 3 to 4 minutes, please. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to the organizers for this opportunity to speak in front of this respectful audience. We all know about the North-South transport corridor. There has been a lot of discussion about it, but apparently that's it. Nevertheless, we have been implementing a number of projects, but all of those are smaller and private projects. We have launched the service of tank containers from Russia to Iran, India, Malaysia, Indonesia. We are working with a number of Indian companies, in particular in Iran. As we know, in terms of the petrochemistry development, Iran is 2 times bigger than Russia. So it's very interesting to consider the transportation of their goods through the North-South corridor. Arkady Ivanov, my colleague who is going to speak as well, drew such a map of transportation from north to south and vice versa, including through India, through the Caspian Sea, through Volga and Don Channel, and of course also towards Siberia. We are now working also on the possibility of delivering to Belarus, Poland, the Baltics, Finland, and so on. But what are the obstacles? There are a number of issues that are gradually being resolved thanks to our new solutions regarding the containers. People are referring to the lack of railway connections in Iran. Actually, this railway system is working, and one of the Iranian companies even got preferential tariffs for cargo shipment to India, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, and some other countries. But if we consider this route, the clicker is not working, but, well, we have a part of a railway network that is not linked with Iranian railways. And we are also having some issues with Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan prohibited the transit of oil products and of chemicals. I think that later it will also prohibit the transportation of ore, coal, and consumer goods. To resolve this issue, we are working on a project of launching a railway ferry on the Caspian Sea. Here is a picture of such a ferry. It is old, it is quite obsolete, but what are the benefits of this solution? It can be loaded in Makhachkala. There is a good port there. Then it goes to Amirabad, and in Amirabad it can follow the Iranian railways. It is just a platform with containers or with ore or with oil tanks or other cargo. And preferential tariffs can be used on the Iran territory, and it can go to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and then to India, to Mumbai and other ports of India. We are looking for partners who would help us to load that ferry and who would help us to replicate this solution and have ferries with a larger capacity so that the north-south transport corridor could be fully loaded, and thus it could extend the trade between Russia, India, and the countries on the route, including the Eurosec member states such as Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Belarus, so that we have large turnover transported by land and by sea. That's basically the end of my presentation. I could speak in greater detail about the questions of interest on the margins of this forum, so I'm ready to collaborate. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Vladimir Sushkov, member of the Council of China, Kazakhstan, Russia, Europe Railroad Consortium. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was told that I have to speak in 3 to 4 minutes, so I will be speaking very quickly because my subject is quite large indeed. So first, I'd like to extend my gratitude to my friend, Mr. Котвани and Mr. Sэмmi Котвani for the invitation and the possibility to speak here, because without my friendship with Jimmy, I would not have been able to do so. So I am very grateful for this opportunity. My background is the Institute of International Relations, and all of my interests have been focused on international relations. I graduated from the International Relations Institute in 1993, when all the international relations actually collapsed. The USSR and its system also collapsed, and my diplomatic ambitions had to be postponed and deferred to 30 years. And I had to start doing business. I worked in several large corporations, a Japanese one, an English one, an American one, and a Russian one. So I've seen what's business. But the spiral follows a circle. So ultimately, I went back to international relations, but also through business. So I would like to read out the letter of gratitude to the Institute of International Relations and the welcoming address of the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, dedicated to the 75th anniversary of the Institute of International Relations. So I quote him: "This anniversary is celebrated on a turning point. We see uncertainties and turbulence throughout the world. Many of the issues are global and interrelated. Emergencies in climate, growing inequalities, abuse of digital technologies, and so on." And the final phrase that is related to the subject of our today's event, he says, the global issues require global solutions. The actions of the international community are as important as ever. So you will ask me, what's the role of India here? Apparently, you see no mentioning of India here, but India is among the top 5 economies of the world and is among the largest countries of the world. So India, of course, has a role to play here. But first, I'd like to share the very idea of this project. It is called the business project of the 21st century. This is the project that was commented upon by Antonio Guterres. You can see his quote on this slide, and these are very important words. They were pronounced by the UN Secretary General. He sees a true threat to the international community in turbulence and uncertainties, and only international cooperation helps to overcome those issues. So why the business project of the 21st century? This is the project that is related to 2 major projects of the 20th and the 19th century, especially to the Suez Canal project. Why? The Suez Channel has been thought about for thousands of years. Since the times of pharaohs, people knew that one can come from Asia to Europe quicker, but it took thousands of years to implement the project. Now the Panama Channel. This project was implemented faster, but still it took several hundreds of years. Since column times, people knew how to link the 2 oceans, but it was implemented only in the 20th century. So what's the 21st century project? That's a consortium that brings together the ambitions regarding Greater Eurasia. And by the way, people are speaking now a lot about Greater Eurasia, that is opposed to the Anglo-Saxon economic space. But actually, there is only one way to go, either integration or dependency on the Anglo-Saxon presence in Eurasia. So there is only one solution. It is to get together and get integrated on this space. This is the space where the major stakeholders are China, India, Russia, Europe, and of course, Iran and the Arab countries. So that's what we call Greater Eurasia. This large project is called the project of the 21st century. The project is very specific. It is a railway that will help to deliver cargo. So we are focusing not on passenger traffic, but on freight traffic, because the passenger traffic is already insured and is working quite well. But the center of the world production is in China and in India, and the center of the world consumption is in Europe. The role of Russia and of Kazakhstan is to ensure transit.
Well, in this respect, we will develop the project in this vein. Why no any other country in the world separately can do that on a standalone basis? Neither China, nor Russia, nor India, nor the EU. Because in this turbulent world, we only have one alternative, which is a negotiating table, that is to admit all the stakeholders of the consortium to come to terms. The initiative stems from China, because this country is the driver of the project. They are to deliver their cargoes to Europe. And President Xi Jinping in Kazakhstan in 2013 came up with the Belt and Road Initiative. 1 minute, no more. And that project was set up in 2011, and they had first batches sent to Europe. We can see the capability. This is the central route, which is the old Silk Road, encompassing Kazakhstan, Russia, and Europe. And where is India? India would get connected via the north-south corridor, which is being developed and which will be an offshoot of that greater route on the Russian soil. So this is what is coming in the forthcoming decade. It is the only alternative to preserve Greater Eurasia, providing for the economic, political and cultural sovereignty for the Greater Eurasia continent. It is a business project. I emphasize the word business. Business brings us together. Politics separate us. So please welcome to this project. Everybody has a role there to play. It will come true, definitely. Everybody is invited to jump in. Thank you. I would then invite Mr. Ivanov, Arkady Ivanovich, also to speak on the north-south corridor.
Добрый день. Я руководитель.
Very good afternoon. I am head of a logistics committee of the Afanasy Nikitin Explorer Committee. I was asked to be brief. Why logistics? Because logistics accounts for half of your success, of your foreign trade success. Why Afanasy Nikitin, company, association? Because we can be of help. We rely upon the broad geographic scope. This district, this area, surrounds and brings together around 2 billion people. This is an ancient route that Afanasy Nikitin traveled across several centuries ago. It is a political project. It was initiated 20 years ago, but no cargo flows are there currently because of lack of infrastructure and high costs. This vicious circle is something that we are to break, to provide comfort for all the operators. Afanasy Nikitin, the well-known Russian explorer and pioneer, walked that route, and now we are to follow in his footsteps. Our association relies upon the Russian agricultural output potential. The Volga region has a huge capability of grain crops cultivation that may be imported to India, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and all of the Asian region and African region. We have 10 million hectares of pasture land, arable land, that are now in reserve. They haven't been cultivated for more than 20 years, so it's going to be quite fertile now. Around 20 million tons per annum is something that we can produce and have from this reserved land mass. So lots of people worldwide suffer from hunger, from famine. This is the famine map by the United Nations. And by 2050, around 1.5 billion people will be malnourished. So we have the Straits of Bosphorus and Dardanelles, and the Hormuz Strait that can be easily stopped and suspended. We don't want to become a substitute for the Suez Channel. And Russia is a major food and agricultural goods producer. If other countries join our project, we definitely will be much more lucrative. So far, the only issue is that we have high costs and we have low cargo flows, but the greater the cargo traffic, the lower the cost, which is natural. And between Russia, the trade between Russia and India is greater than with many other countries in the vicinity. And Azerbaijan has laid down a railway to export grain to Iran, and the Iranians have been selling the processed grain and flour across their sub-region. And we have a road and around 500 lorries from Iran arrive in Russia every month. So that requires cooperation by many countries, but we believe that India, Russia and Iran are friendly nations towards each other. The Indians and the Iranians get along quite well. It is an alternative to Suez Channel. So far, it is cheaper to transport grain via the Suez Channel, But you know, if it's cut, if it's stopped, you know, you may use our alternative bypass. We have been building elevator facilities, and we have set up river and maritime transport companies, and we want to involve our partners, engage them. We call it the agricultural supply chain. From Kazan to Mumbai, your last minute. The grain export target is 15 million tons per annum. Our association is in need of new members. It is an NPO, and we further on we will establish a trading company to trade grain, and we have been modernizing the elevator facilities, and shortly we will come up with the docks to build vessels. And we have a strategic council, standing council. I may send out a presentation if you need. Thank you. I would then invite the business development director from Europac, export logistics from Russia and India. Flexi trains. Dear colleagues, a very good afternoon. The topic of my presentation are flexi tanks and flexi trains by Europac. Europac is a unique logistical operator that has been transporting bulk cargo, non-hazardous cargo, with our flexi tankers, inside our flexi tankers. Well, more than 1,500 containers with flexi tanks exported on a monthly basis, and the transshipment of oil is more than 30 million tons. We mostly use our technology for vegetable oils. Here you can see the non-commodity, non-energy related products growth exported to India. Position number 1, sunflower oil, plus 715%. Then some beans, exports to India. The flexi tank transport technology is an enabler for small and medium enterprises to be able to export cargoes. These small and medium companies from India may import cargoes from us, not relying on major trading companies and being on their own. So these are the data provided by the Agriculture Ministry on the exports of vegetable oils. On the left-hand side, you can see that China is the main destination with the overall volume of 500,000 tons. And by 2024, India will replace China's #1 destination for our exports in oils, because ours is a very high-quality oil, eco-friendly oil. We also provide some of the subsidies. And Europac and other companies have been able to design new schemes of supplies to comply with the May decree of President Putin. We are doing our utmost to step up oil production I mean, the sunflower oil output will considerably increase, and we are now launching our flexi train service that will run from Omsk, Voronezh and Barnaul. Over a short period of time, we sent 17 trains with lots of oil on board. The work is in progress, and the flexi tank technology, I'll bet many of you know about that. Probably if you are a professional in logistics. Our goal is to tell more and raise awareness about flexi tanks. But you know, just turn to me. I will tell you in greater detail what it's all about. It needs no transshipment. You will be able to receive the batch of oil in the very same fashion, in the very same quality that you bought it from exporter. No transshipment. Our second product is the insert in Europack container. So it is for grains and beans and bulk cargo, dry bulk cargo. We've been selling different grains like buckwheat and chickpea, and we can provide a appealing price to our buyers. So these are the advantages: the high quality of cargo, door-to-door service, and broad geography of supplies. You can transport rice, soybeans, maize, buckwheat, peas, malt, and other crops. So this is our competitive edge. I mean, the subsidies from the Russian Export Center they reimburse half of the costs, up to half of the costs. The limits per 40 feet long container would be 100,000 rubles and 80,000 rubles per 20 feet long container. China is the main destination by rail and by sea. Thank you. I would be ready to provide more comments.
We should move on to some interesting topic about infertility and awareness. I would request Ms. Richa Sharma to talk on a topic about infertility and awareness. Thanks.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Dr. Richa Sharma. I am Senior IVF Consultant from India, New Delhi. I am author of bestseller book, Infertility Solutions. So what we feel that infertility is a very prevalent issue, but thing is that it is very underpenetrated because patients are not aware. So awareness is the first key. Infertility means when couple is not able to have the baby. So to have baby is the first wish of a couple, and it completes the family. So it can be primary or it can be the secondary. Primary means when patient has never conceived, and secondary means when they have the baby, they are able to conceive, have pregnancy, but are unable to take it to the term. So what is required that it is the three challenges are there. 3 A's what we call as. First is the awareness, second is the affordability, and third is the accessibility. Definitely affordability and accessibility takes time, and government policies, they have a role in that. Like in India, we have the ART regulation by the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research. So that checks the ART Act, and we have the latest ART bill, which has been in the Rajya Sabha for the surrogacy. So there are certain hitches are there. There are certain restraints which affects the decision-taking power of the couple. So what we expect as IVF physician, that it is not only in India, the local market, which has a role, we expect the international IVF players. Why India is considered as a favorite destination for the medical tourism? There are few facts I will share. In India, like cost of the IVF is 3 to 5 times lower than the other countries like US, UK, Germany, Russia, Spain. Like the basic cost of IVF in US is $10,000 while in India it can be done in $3,000. Besides, we have the good infrastructures and cost-effective quality care is there. And so if bilateral collaboration can be done with the countries which have the interest, so like more couples can be reached. So first thing is like it should be like more investors who have the interest, they can reach India and we can take it further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on the same medical theme, we have another speaker, Mrs. Monica Asul Bhatia. Her topic is importance of clinical decision support tool for reducing medication errors and adverse drug events. Do we have the speaker? No, I don't think she is here. So we move on to Kaltkov Alexander Alexandrovich, советник юридической фирмы Henkels. Тема...
Kaltkov Alexander, counselor, legal an advisor from Henkels. A very good day, dear colleagues. Unfortunately, we're strapped for time, and the session is approaching its end. I'll be brief. I'll tell on legal matters, and I'd like to thank Sэмmi Котвани for the invitation. My name is Alexander Kaltkov. I'm Henkel's legal advisor. We have been providing legal support to foreign companies on Russian soil. So the main issues that international entrepreneurs face on Russian soil are as follows. Issue number one, while they register and set up a company, foreign citizens are appointed as CEO, but you know the tax authority wouldn't check whether your CEO is an international or Russian citizen, but you are immediately in breach of Russian legislation because you don't have a work permit. This is definitely by lack of knowledge, because of lack of knowledge. Or probably someone may be afraid of some risks, but the outcome is always the same. The CEO and the company are subject to huge penalties, and this foreign national is expelled from the Russian Federation, and there is an entry ban up to 3 years imposed upon him. Another problem is when the CEO and the chief accountant positions are the same person. Like a person should either have a residency or a temporary permit. You either turn to an accounting company or you use some other resorts. The administrative expulsions and deportation issue is what many companies face. Ours is quite tight migration legislation. If a foreign national commits 2 or more administrative offences per annum, apart from fines, he or she is subject to the administrative expulsion with an entry ban of up to 3 or even to 5 years in duration. And building upon our practical experience, we see that many companies turn to us when they face those administrative expulsions, but if the ruling of the court is there, has been pronounced, it's kind of no avail to turning to a lawyer. You cannot appeal against such decisions. 0.1% is the success rate in appealing against administrative expulsion rulings. Then the taxation system choice is also a problem for foreign nationals. Sometimes they stick to the fast track and simplified tax administration procedure, but they don't know about the requirements. Not all the activities are subject to that system. In closing, I want to say that there is poor exchange of information between our relevant bodies. Like the tax service and migration service are not in contact with each other, but dura lex sed lex principle is still applied. So probably you will need legal assistance and consultancy in advance before you decide to open an office in Russia. Thank you for your attention. Turn to us, we would be glad to help you. So we cannot fall asleep when we hear such horrifying stories. The next presenter, I'm not sure whether she is here with us. Kapelko Olga. She is not here. Then I would invite probably the next speaker, which is Ronzin Vladislav Vladimirovich. He is with us, promising IT technology for transport. Back on track with transport. Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. My report is dedicated to the ocean in white color. Transport automation. Our company, like the enterprise of such Deva, tries to implement automation for vehicles, four-wheel or two-wheel vehicles. At the outset, a question to the audience. Has any one of you used car sharing? The car sharing services. Okay, you know that. In this case, I would kind of adjust my presentation because the passenger transport now is going through major change, which is particularly true for big cities, where instead of having a personal car, many of the consumers prefer mobile applications using scooters and self-propelled scooters and cars. For Moscow, it was all the rage a couple of years ago. Now it is our harsh reality. It's our everyday routine because of the traffic jams, because of the lack of parking lots. Everybody is switching to the car sharing, and more people prefer to share a vehicle than to own it. So it's a change in the mindset. Though in the diagram you can see that the classical providers like ride-hailing and taxi services still have major shares, but the left part of the brain and the left semicircle here would see its share increased in the number of transactions. We have the micro-mobility services, bikes, self-propelled, scooters, and the ride-sharing service providers that are similar to BlaBlaCar. Ours is a car-sharing operator, and we believe that in the transition period, car-sharing services will have a major role to play, a pivotal one. Currently, in this country, we have turned to become the global leader in terms of number of car-shared vehicles. Moscow has around 25,000 to 27,000 vehicles of that kind, starting from Lada Granta to Porsche Cayenne. And we outpaced Tokyo in the summer, that was the leader, the global leader in the car-sharing segment. Moscow counts for 80% of the car fleet, but the market has been growing in the regions. In smaller cities with population less than 500,000 people, and money-wise, from 2018 to 2019, the market volume and size increased threefold. The main enablers here are the backing by the Moscow government and Department of Transport. They have offered considerable benefits and concessions to the new car-sharing companies, and the parking infrastructure also facilitates the use of shared cars. You know, the parking fees are quite expensive in the city center, but if you use a car sharing, you needn't pay for the parking. And we also use state-of-the-art IT platforms and technology platforms with the ahead-of-the-curve technology that was used as the cornerstone for these systems.
So why the Moscow and Russian car-sharing technologies are the most prominent ones? During the design, we started working with the Telemobile company that was the first locomotive in Moscow car sharing. Then the Belka company appeared. They also used our knowledge and technologies, and they have already created some technological change so that we could use both these technologies and the Western experience. Initially, the software and the hardware could be expanded and scaled up because everyone understood that there will be investors coming and the number of users will increase several-fold. Another model that we used is the free-floating model. In contrast to the classical car sharings, in Moscow, from the very onset, you could take a car in one place and leave it in a different place. There was remote control, and the security was provided by the operator. Another particularity is the online registration. The user did not have to go to any office. He could send all the documents through the mobile app, get an approval, and start using the car next day. Another particularity is keyless access. That was our particular wish. We wanted everything to be controlled through the mobile phone, a completely online solution. And of course, the tarification without the need for the user to approve the transaction. So that is a very good connection between the intellectual technologies, between something new, the innovative approach, and the experience. All of that allows the company to improve its business processes, to get complete automation, and to speed up all the processes. And the client got a new, different, high quality and trendy service. Now, briefly about the technology. Here we did not have to reinvent the wheel. Almost all the companies are using this system. So there is a mobile app. This mobile app is designed similarly in Russia and abroad. This application represents the user's key. The user has to register in the application. The user uses it to book the car, to pay for the car. So this application is the whole record of the car-sharing history of the user. Another cornerstone is the platform for interaction between the operator and the user. And the third pillar is what we call onboard equipment. That's a kind of a black box that is responsible for control of the vehicle. And we know that with modern vehicles we can do everything remotely. So basically that's it. Regarding practical cases, now we witness deep penetration of the car-sharing services, and the same operators are using the same technologies to open scooter sharing and other kinds of vehicle sharing. Companies can use this technology in the corporate segment to provide their staff keyless access to their vehicle fleet. Another trend will be the car rent, keyless access, and peer-to-peer solutions will also become more and more popular. To conclude, I'd like to highlight that our company has a lot of expertise in launching such campaigns. We are ready to share our experience. We invite you to collaborate. We are working in Russia and abroad, and we haven't yet worked in India, but we would like to. Thank you for your attention. And how can you avoid fines? You will receive it anyway, right? I will answer your question. The situation is quite simple. All the actions are recorded in the system, so we know who is in control of the vehicle. When the client rents a vehicle, he signs the agreement that states that the client will have to pay the fine. But it's the company that receives the fine, because the company is the owner of the car. Now there are three-party services that are working through APA. They act as third-party providers. It is called online traffic police. We can get automatically notification about fine, and we can pay this fine during the grace period, and then we can charge this fine from the credit card of the user. If you have any other questions, I will be happy to answer. Yes, later. Thank you. So, do we have any other speakers left? If there are no more speakers, we can wrap up. Is there anyone else? Because I see no one in the list. Okay, can you please introduce yourself and make a very brief statement? Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Andrei Bykov. I would like to thank the organizers for the opportunity to speak at this forum. Allow me to start from the most important thing. The Business Council on Collaboration with India is one of the organizers of this event. So we have been promoting initiatives aimed at expanding our intellectual, economic, and social collaboration between the Russian and Indian companies, as well as between third parties. And to do that, of course, we need some tools. Business is the key word here. And one of the key tools is to organize a digital international platform that could be used to expand trade between small, medium, large companies of the two countries and maybe even of several countries. As a basic platform, the Business Council on Cooperation with India chose the RS trade platform. It is existing already, but there will be a separate interface, so one can access the website through the website of the Business Council for Cooperation with India. We chose that platform first of all because it's a multilingual one. There is Russian and English versions and the possibility of adding other languages. This platform has already been in use. It has been approved. It is a multinational platform, and now there are more than 82,000 companies from 23 countries that are registered there. There are some companies from India, but in spite of the fact that this country is very big and it's a very important partner of the Russian Federation and the Eurasian Economic Union countries, there are only 18 companies from India, but the potential of growth is quite big. Another reason why we chose this platform is because it is directly integrated with the state information system of the Ministry of Industry and Trade of Russia. The database allows for information exchange, and the Russian companies have access to this platform. Moreover, this platform has already been integrated with the foreign platforms. Last year, the integration with the largest service logistics platform in the Southeast Asia, Common Long, began. The operator is vCargo Cloud company. It's a company from Singapore that also operates in other 16 countries. So overall, the two integrated platforms cover 30 countries. This platform, in addition, is the participant of two consortia supported by the Eurasian Economic Commission. We have been speaking a lot about logistics here, so I'd like to highlight that the platform also deals with logistics. The platform also ensures transfer of technologies, subcontracting, and industrial cooperation. I think that this is a very important aspect because we have been speaking about food, agriculture, logistics. But I think that our largest cooperation potential is still in the area of industry. And areas such as contractual production that is developing well in India has a great potential, and the know-how of the RS trade platform are the parameters that allow you to find partners for contractual production in an automated way. Bloomberg highlighted that this solution has a global perspective, and this is probably why there are quite a lot of companies registered on this platform over such a short time. There are four main aspects of the platform: products, services, subcontracting, and investments. If you are interested to learn more, please, you can take a presentation or ask me a question on the margin of the forum. As for the investment, the platform contains a catalog of the projects, and contractual production is the area under which we help to find partners who would be ready to take orders or place orders. We can also help with the localization of production, and we already have some positive cases in Russia and abroad. And as for automation, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't yet really exist, but still we can ensure the matching between R&D centers and industrial enterprises who need to find a solution to their issue. This service is also in demand. So far it works manually, but I think that we will make some progress in that respect. The major issue here is that we cannot select between the contractors who would be ready to take orders. I would also like to highlight that we have the electronic service auction. I'm going to give an example using the area of logistics. There are some large and small companies there. The large companies have not monopolized the transit market. Small companies may complement this process or be competitors there. The majority of the online platforms currently in operation help to resolve issues for one company or for several companies. The RS Trade platform allows to perform one task by several logistics companies. It also allows to organize electronic auctions when the customer can order the logistics, the customs proceedings, and other services. And in all the cases, you can have an electronic auction. What can be the value of this platform for the Russian and Indian suppliers? First of all, you can save money. Second of all, you can save time. Third, you can just find reliable partners and develop your business in a more intense way. That's why digital solutions are actually being created. In addition, you can save money on your own employees because part of the functions that are now ensured inside the company, such as document processing, can also be subcontracted and transformed into electronic form. And just 1 minute, I would like to show you a 1-minute video. Since I spoke Russian, I would like to show you this video in English for our foreign partners. Thank you. Thank you. The next speaker is Alexey Gorechev, General Director of the ACDC Center of Corporate Development. He will speak about digital enterprises, the system of monitoring, and video diagnostic. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I will be very brief. I'm going to speak about what's a digital enterprise, and we'll give an example of cases of monitoring of machines. So our system allows to get reliable information about the actual load of equipment and the work of the personnel. The system also allows to reduce downtime, to reduce production costs, to timely detect defects. We use predictive analytics that allows to analyze input data and order spare parts beforehand. Based on the data received, we build some mathematical models that help to do diagnostics and build mathematical models in order to predict the defects and downtime of various kinds of equipment. Based on this data, the graph of necessary maintenance and interventions is constructed. The system also suggests which equipment should be ordered based on predictive analytics. How is it working? So we have various manufacturing equipment, we have maintenance personnel, we have a platform. That platform monitors data, collects data, analyzes it, and then this data is transferred to the enterprise management system, maintenance management system, and so on. So here you can see the description of the principle of operation. For example, we have a tablet of a maintenance engineer, or we have a web interface. When the sensors transmit the figures and those figures go beyond the established limits and show abnormal values, the system signals that some measures have to be taken, some maintenance needs to be performed for a particular equipment. In addition to that, the system allows to build plans of maintenance interventions. The efficiency relies in the fact that the system allows to identify defects, including hidden defects that cannot be seen during a visual inspection. For example, the obsolescence of bearings. Since we use the equipment in a better way, the equipment's life will be longer than in case of manual maintenance. The maintenance time will be reduced by 1.5 times. The cost of maintenance will be reduced by nearly 40% because the very model of maintenance will be changed. And of course, the system allows to better control the equipment. Now I'd like to give a specific example. So here we have a piece of equipment. It is provided with a number of sensors that ensure the diagnostics. When certain parameters change, the system can see at once what has to be changed. So you don't have to dismantle the whole piece of equipment. You can just repair some assemblies or sub-assemblies, and you can order all the spare parts beforehand. As a result, the downtime will be reduced by nearly 7 times. It is explained by the fact that when we use special sensors to do the analysis, there is no need to stop the equipment, to dismantle it, and to consider what is going wrong. Here we use analytics as well as predictive analysis, and at once we can see what has to be replaced, and we will physically stop the equipment only for the time of the actual repair, when we already have the spare parts. Here you can see another example, the example of a report. I'm not going to dwell on that, since it would be more interesting to see the system interface. Here you can see the dashboard of the chief engineer or the operator. You have 30 seconds left. Okay, fine. Just several slides left. These are the operational solutions used in various plants. This is the Kirov plant. This is the Oriol Compressor Mash group of companies. Our sensors are used for compressors there. This is the Petrostal company. Example, this is the Russian grid company. So the system is operational in all the segments. Our company has been on the market for 24 years already. It is working on automation solutions, mobile solutions, IoT, and so on. We have more than 5,500 clients as of today. We have 30 solutions, 9 development centers in Russia. 22 solutions were registered in the Russian software register. We also received some international awards. Here you can see our main clients. That's it. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Chev Mazzini.
I want to talk about skill development and human resources. I would request you to be really short and sweet. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's been some great talks today, and one thing that's been missing, I guess, is skill development and skilled staff to make these things happen, because one of the biggest downfalls from my experience going into countries, if you can't find the labour force. I just want to share some experiences across what I've experienced in Asia and what's happening in Asia and Australia, so you get a good understanding of that. As we know, the world is going through a massive transition right now with workforces. Technology has moved and advanced that fast, it is now replacing a lot of job roles. We're seeing all the lower level jobs disappear. We are now seeing middle management roles going and starting to get into higher level management jobs. In India alone the other week I saw there's one company getting rid of 40,000 people out of their IT areas. So, and also what now the workforce, humans are required to manage themselves. We cannot afford to pay to have managers in businesses anymore to manage humans. They must do it themselves, and they must upskill themselves and not sit back and wait for things to happen. As we know, when Google came out and Alibaba and all those companies, they actually started the massive change of the workforces, and we'll throw in Uber as well. And what's happened from there, if you look at someone like Alibaba, I went and had a look at their business model, did a course with them for 3.5 days. They have actually transformed the business world. On their singles weekend just recently in November, the 11th of November, all the time they sold $38 billion worth of product. And they are sitting in China. We're seeing 3D printers out now, making body parts, car parts, houses, designing houses and building houses within 2 days. So there's a lot of transformation happening. As I said, we're in the three, India, Indonesia, Philippines and Australia. And one of the biggest things you also have to understand is culture plays a big thing in trying to bring workers together. The biggest problem in Asia is why they can't join those 12 Asian countries together is they've all got different cultures, and that's the thing that's slowing them down. And so if you're going into another country, you've got to try and understand that. That does take a while to build the understanding and relationships with them. The human being, unfortunately, is the biggest problem behind all this. A lot of them are resisting the change. And a lot of people have gone off to university and got a degree and think that's great for life now. Well, it's not. They've got to keep going and upskilling themselves now ongoing for the rest of their life. There are global skill shortages, especially in the IT areas, because people think they can do Facebook or they can do social media and they can do emails and they think they're technology competent, and they're not. And a lot of countries are really suffering, and there's a massive global skill shortage of IT people. People with IT qualification, a lower level job, will stand up against a university graduate and get a job these days. That's how much it's all changed. Employers are demanding skilled workers and not necessarily someone with a university degree. And the job roles being advertised now are actually saying that. Those involved in, there's a big slowness in amongst all countries, and we hear it today too that, you know, these are work in progress, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Well, unfortunately, that can't happen anymore, because why countries, and especially right from the top in education, down the line through the lecturers, the teachers, the trainers, whatever, the longer they procrastinate and don't do anything, employers like myself are going out and getting as much technology as we can. I've got bots, I've got apps now, I don't need to have desktops, laptops, and on it goes. I'm looking now to digitise all my assessing. I'm doing all these things because the human labour force is not willing to keep up with the changes and demands. Millennials also, the millennial population of the world, as we know, the 18 to 34-year-olds, they've changed the world. They want things different. Not many business models are changing to meet those needs of those people, and therefore they are struggling.
Last minute.
Oh, okay. Okay, Gen Z's entering the workforce. They will not work for people. They'll be running their own business, setting up their own website. So I guess in a roundabout way is making sure when you go overseas that you can get the skilled labour. It is what you're looking for. Make sure your business model that you're going overseas is not already being duplicated by technology, and talk to us if you need any help with upskilling your people as you go along. We're in India and everywhere else. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have Mr. Kashif Hassan? Do we have? No. Do we have Kalirat? You don't have, so we move on. And Garayev Ivan Anatolievich. Is he here? Okay. Melnikov Vasily Vadimovich. Тема обеспечения качества.
He'll speak about ensuring quality when implementing international projects. Please be very brief. Sure. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I will try to be as brief as possible. I represent the RT Tech Priyomka company, which is a subsidiary of Rostec. We are the center of competence in ensuring quality, and we are responsible for all kinds of approaches and mechanisms of ensuring quality of products. Here are the industries where we are working. Well, since Rostec is present in all the industries, we are also present in a big number of industries. So we have, first of all, the competency center that ensures quality. The second area of our activity is quality control that is performed locally in various industries. Third, we have a certification center, and we provide certification according to the Russian and international standards, and we are also ensuring the equipment and material basis for the activity.
Ours is high-tech products, and often it requires to forge technology partnerships and joint ventures. We all know about the K-226 helicopter between Russia and India, and Make in India provides for much more opportunities. And companies have been faced with interactions with lots of suppliers, and there may be different technology standards and that vary, and at the end of the day we can face delays and failures in supplies and disruptions, and we have opened the Supplier Quality Assurance Center, and we would be ready to interact with the clients and suppliers throughout the supply chain of the life cycle of a product or material. Depending on who our supplier or client is, a supplier from India or a client from Russia, we would offer special competences of ours, tailor-made competences on a case-by-case basis. But anyway, after all, it all boils down to saving the costs and the money of suppliers and other companies when they go international. So the bottom line is saving and the atmosphere of trust. We did some research, and the survey showed that really there isn't a matter of trust that is quite high on the agenda, and we are to adapt technical standards and provide for uninterrupted supplies between countries. We launched this project together with Russia, Singapore Business Council. We have been in talks with potential partners for 3 months, and we know quite well that there is huge interest in Southeast Asia, as well as in India. We may face similar demand and interest. Thank you for your understanding. Our last speaker is Zorina Irina Nikolaevna. Is she present? I can't see her. No, thank you, everybody. Goodbye. I bid you goodbye. All the best.